Springtime in New England is more of a roller coaster ride than an expressway, from that winter frost to glorious summer condensation. Think I'm exaggerating? Well, you might look out your window today and see that the snow is retreated into dirty blackened piles covered in trash as your mother's peonies begin reaching red hands out of the mulch like zombies crawling their way out of the grave. Problem is, yesterday it was snowing, and later this week it's gonna be in the 20s. And that cute meteorologist in the green dress on Channel 5, she says 3 inches of snow is likely. This constant yo-yoing will continue for weeks until God finally breaks his indecision and ushers in better weather in April. Now, if you find yourself near me, you are bound to come across these gray, desiccated mummies that are beehives from seasons past. These dead-looking ghouls are likely clinging precariously from the bottom of a branch. You might see them in the woods along a running trail, or when you look out at the old oak tree from your algebra honors class, or maybe the dead thing is perched above a roadway, leering at passing traffic with an obsidian eye. How the hell did that thing survive all that snow and wind? Tons of trees came down and whole regions lost power, you might think to yourself. But chances are you will never give it a second thought because it's just a damn dead beehive. You'd be wrong, though. In my younger days, before innocence was lost and the unwanted knowledge and maturity seized me, I thought the same thing. That year, there was a husk of a hive glaring a black cyclopean eye over a busy road near Halifax, Massachusetts. It's a heavily wooded area teeming with wetlands, swamps, and lakes, making it the ideal crossroads to encounter wildlife and be eaten alive by mosquitoes. But hell, I loved it. Those wooded paths, and seeing nature awaken from her slumber every year made the cloud of bugs and that slow snow of pine pollen later in the year worth all the itchiness and the allergies. Growing up, I'd see abandoned animal dens, random roadkill, and decaying hives that fell out of trees seasons ago. And I grew to appreciate that nature wastes nothing. Everything gets recycled and renewed, but not everyone shared my awe. You know, kids will be kids, but some of them near me were downright miscreants. Some of them liked to throw rocks at dead beehives to watch them fall, never even considering the consequences. Well, that year, rocks flew at that zombie hive with the cyclopean eye, and they learned the consequences. I will never forget what happened, as unbelievable as the circumstances were. Have you ever wondered where the bees go in the winter? I mean, they certainly don't fly south in a big, giant, flying V formation that's a nuisance to aircraft. Does the queen bee burrow underground while the hive and her workers die off? Not even close. I found out that those hives aren't unoccupied. Time for some fun science! When winter approaches, the hive kicks out most of the male drones as they're no longer needed. The remaining bees will form a tight ball insulated by their fuzzy bodies at the center of the hive. You see, bees evolved this ability to unhinge their wings from their flight muscles, and they put it to use. The bees in the ball pulse those muscles to stay warm, and they consume the honey from the last season. Now, on days that are warm enough, some of them will fly out to collect water, but otherwise, they remain deep within the hive. They're not asleep, and they're not in torpor, but they're pulsating. A warm, beating heart hidden in a dead mummy, waiting for the seasons to change and ready to defend. I remember jogging down the side of the road, crossing the commuter rail tracks, my ears and nose beet red. It was so cold that day, and the clouds were thick, and there was a fresh rain leaving puddles and mud in my wake. my breath shot out wispy white clouds as my favorite Meatloaf song, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, came up on my playlist. I was aware and alert of my surroundings as Meatloaf was busy trying to seal the deal, and cars came up from behind me and sped off around the corner. Soon, I was around the corner myself, and I came across one of those mischievous miscreants throwing rocks at that ominous hive. He actually managed to hit the damn thing, and it shook violently. But somehow, that dead hive managed to hang on. That kid was a little punk. Now, I was several years older than him, but I had seen the terror he was to other kids in his grade and younger. A bully. And I really wanted to hate him. But he had his own issues. You see, his father was a state trooper. Emphasis on was. He was one of the guys that was caught up in the overtime fraud scandal and was serving a prison sentence. And you know his wife? She was a complete booze hound. So I had sympathy for the kid. That was about to end. I was jamming out as Meatloaf was rounding bases and getting ready to steal home when I made it to the hive at the same time as a red 2001 Nissan Primera, and it went speeding past me. I heard a muffled pshh, and soon after felt a sharp pain on the back of my neck, and then a second on my arm. Still jogging forward, I turned my head to the road and saw part of a beehive was shattered on the asphalt, and it was surrounded by an angry, roiling storm of bees. Ouch! Another sting, and I realized I was getting stung by bees in March. I was in a panic as I put my head down and started sprinting for my life. I realized that something else was wrong when I heard the screeching of tires. That Primera, it was swerving all over the road and seemed to be gaining speed. I watched it sideswipe an old-timer driving a Ford Bronco, but that didn't even seem to slow it down. The red blur, it hopped a curve and went careening through the front of a single-story cape. I was absolutely horrified, and the sound of the crash, it silenced the entire neighborhood. I mean, even the birds and the bugs went deathly quiet. That silence, it was only cut by the sound of a car horn that would not stop as black smoke started erupting from the dark maw that was illuminated only by the red taillights. The neighborhood exploded into activity, and some of the older men ventured into that maw to try to render aid, but they came running out of the house, swiping at the air, screaming, "Bees! Bees!" One man screamed, while the other bellowed, "I'm allergic to bees!" as he was stabbed repeatedly by stingers. It was absolute madness when the police, firefighters, and paramedics arrived on the scene. We later found out that the driver was a local teenager, and the police found weed and a pipe against the floorboard. The best the investigators could tell, he opened the sunroof because he was smoking, and he was unlucky enough to have most of a beehive land in his passenger seat. The bees reacted like the hive was under attack, and they went into a defensive swarm inside of his car. The poor kid, he never stood a chance. The coroner says he died of anaphylaxis rather than the multiple compound fractures in the cracked skull. He suffocated as bees continued stinging him, trapped inside of his car, trapped in a hell by the dashboard light. Did you know that when a bee stings you, it sends out pheromones to the colony that can send them into a frenzy? That's why he had over 300 stings. They found bees in his mouth when they performed the autopsy. Some were in his throat, and some were deep down his windpipe. It's a cold comfort that no one was home when he collided with that house. You know, I had nightmares about this for weeks. My car filling up with bees to the point I could no longer see, and then the angry cloud, it descends upon me, and I scream, and I wave my arms around in a wild panic as they sting me over and over again. The bees! The bees! Waking up in a cold sweat, panting. That is the greatest form of heaven after experiencing that unconscious hell. So let this be a warning to you. Beehives, they should always be considered dangerous. Even when they look like a desiccated corpse, there might be a fuzzy, warm heart beating within, waiting for the spring to resurrect the hive, ready to defend the hive from attacks or someone in the wrong place at the wrong time. Stay safe. Don't you just love it when a story comes together? I had a lot of fun with this one, guys. And you know why? I'm the author. What do you know? And this story, it was born out of an event that happened to me last week. No, a beehive did not fall into somebody's sunroof, and they didn't drive through somebody's house. That was a bunch of stuff I added in along with the meatloaf. I hope you guys enjoyed the little bit of singing I did in there. Yes, I used some auto-tune because no, I cannot sing in key at all. But me and my brother were driving down this road in Halifax, and we saw this beehive hanging there. And our area, it has been shellacked with bad weather. We got over 30 inches of snow in one storm. We've had branches coming down like crazy. His power was out for several days because somebody knocked over a power line in the storm. Like, it's been nuts. And this dead beehive was just hanging over the street winking at us. And we got talking like, well, what would happen if that thing fell down in a car? Well, a little bit of research, and this story was kind of just born out of that. It was an idea, and I really fell in love with it and had to run with it. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you find it to be a little something you all enjoyed. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. Now, I'm going to be potentially gone for the next week or two. And why? You're always having these disappearances. Well, this time it's actually for something good, because you're probably wondering, or you noticed, I look like a dork because I'm dressed up like a admiral or a ship captain. Why? Why am I doing this? Well, that gets to our old friend, That Old Fool. Back in November, he reached out to me with a story. And I loved it, but at the time, I still didn't have my computer situation put back together. So it's been on the back burner ever since, because I've been trying to get the channel back together, trying to get some stories out, get back in the routine. Well, now is the time to do this story. And I think you guys are going to love it. He himself claimed that it is longer than Santa's beard, I think is what he said. Longer than Santa's beard. So that's why I might be gone for 2 weeks. But I promise you it's going to be worth it. That story, I've read it, and it is so cool. So stay tuned, stay safe, and enjoy the weekend, everybody. Peace!
Uncle Magnetti, I want to be you. Uncle Magnetti, I'm watching you. Inside your mind I twist and turn. Feed on your fear, watch it burn.